Hello, I'm Eloise Ansell. I am an intuitive healer based in the UK. Welcome. This week, I want to talk about protection. Hey, welcome back. I want to talk about protection this week, and you may be like, what are you talking about, Louise? We're talking about protection against entities and all of that kind of thing. And, I once went on a training and there's a very well-known medium in the UK who I love, Tony Stockwell. Hello, Tony, if you're watching. And he said there's only one thing you need protection for, and meaning sex. And it's just like, yes. Now, I thought this would make a good video because I was talking about this in clinic to a client this week. So she was having some episodes where um, she'd been in contact with someone, they'd obviously been inviting some interesting things into their world, and because she was spending so much time with them, that was kind of becoming her world a little bit. And so we started having this conversation around protection. Now, the key thing is, technically, you don't need protection from anything unless you have belief systems that mean that you do. So we need to unwrap this a little bit. So technically, things can only hurt you if you believe that they can hurt you. Like you're giving them the power to hurt you. In that case, if you believe they do, they do. So if you're one of those people that has grown up and you've been programmed somehow that you need protection from things, you need protection from things. And there are loads of videos out there on how to do that. And sometimes in clinic, I put things out there for clients and I teach them how to protect themselves, but I follow the energy of what would be the best thing for their body. And that's the thing I encourage you to do. Kind of shop around at all the methods and techniques and tools and see what feels good for you. And you can layer things as well. Don't be scared of doing that. But we only need to protect ourselves if we actually need to protect ourselves. I don't believe I need to. And you may be like, Eloise, you must be bombarded with stuff in clinic every day. Like, things come into my awareness and they go. I don't believe anything can hurt me, so nothing can hurt me. Now I'm going to invite the internet to start sending me shit. Yeah, it's not going to work. But it's, check in with your ethics if you're even thinking that. Now, I have dealt with a lot of strange stuff over the years. We might call some things demonic. We might call some things possessions. We might I've dealt with a lot and I'm trained to deal with a lot. So if you're dealing with something like that, please book a session because it can be really helpful. There was a book I read and it popped in my head yesterday when I was talking to this client. And I can't remember who wrote it, but it was a fascinating book. But the first page says if you're under psychic attack, do not meditate. And I was like, that was such a powerful statement. And it really made me realize how, if we put ourselves in vulnerable situations, we're, we're going to need some help sometimes. Now, I am not immune to having things thrown at me. Uh, I always know I am giving my power away if I let it interfere with me. And I've been on a journey with this myself. And part of the reason why I've been on a journey with this is it, it makes me so much more potent for dealing with stuff for other people because I understand it all. I've been there, I've done it, I've got the t-shirts, I've got all the badges. Um, so yeah, I have been there with so many different things, and it is quite insightful sometimes. I even in the last year, I've had something come up again, and I was like, wow, I'm giving my power away again. And it's very interesting because I don't do that in clinic, but I did it with something else. And it was just like a real wake up call. I was like, oh, okay, that's fascinating. So, you know, we all have layers to us and we have a lot going on in the subconscious. And it's the programming in the subconscious which kind of dictates whether we need protection or not, how we feel about things, what's going on for us, how we deal with things, whether we attract stuff into our lives or not. And so it's the subconscious where we need to clear a lot of this stuff. Once we kind of clear and cleanse whatever is coming in, we then need to look at the belief systems and what's going on at a deeper level to make sure you don't have anything sticky. That's kind of how I look at it, which then things can come and attach to. So I used a great example yesterday, which I'm going to share again today. Dogs. Now, I have had an ongoing fear of dogs from a very early age. I was actually dragged out of my pram as a baby by a big dog. And then I had multiple incidents in my younger years with dogs. So I grew up very scared of dogs for reasons, like now I look at other kids that have no reason and I'm like, why are you scared of dogs? Maybe you're mauled to death in a past life. But I definitely have the energy from this one. But who knows? Now, um, I was really scared of dogs. And the thing is, when you're scared of dogs, they smell the fear and then they come and kind of attack you more. And I got a great example of this one day. I was about 14 and I was with a lot of family. We were in Wales, like all my Welsh family were there. And there must have been about 12 of us walking down the road, but for some reason we're all in a line. I can't remember why now. It's quite a big country lane. We were just walking down and most of us were kind of spread out. And this dog came from nowhere, tried to bite my ankle and then ran off. It's just like, now I look back at it and I'm like, oh, I'm the one that was in fear. So of course the dog picked me. And that is basically what happens. Whatever you've got going on internally, you attract that thing to you. So because I have a fear of dogs and I think dogs are scary, I come across scary dogs. So when I was training to teach NLP, we have processes in neuro linguistic programming to help with, um, you know, um, all kinds of phobias and fears and things. And thankfully, I cleared my dog thing. So I now perceive them as big cats. I reframed it in my brain and it works really well. So I'm not scared of dogs. I mean, obviously, if I meet one and I'm on my own and it's not chained up and it's growling and hissing and it's got foam coming from its mouth, I'm probably going to get out of the way and not try and pet it. But I'm still like, I don't have this fear anymore. So I don't actually have any negative interactions with dogs anymore. So it's a great example of where what's going on internally is reflected in the external world. So if we clear what's going on in here, we won't be attracting all of that stuff. And you have to be careful what you're asking for. If you are someone who loves working with entities, guess what? You're going to be attracting entities all the time. If you're someone that wants to focus on clearing entities all the time, you're probably going to be inundated with entities that need clearing. I can do it, but I don't seek it out. And I kind of get left alone now. Whereas when it was significant in my world, I was constantly getting bombarded. Now, that doesn't mean that I never come across entities anymore. I went to a pub with a friend the other day. We went into the basement and I was like, whoa, okay, let's clear this a bit. Because it was like, if I'm going to sit here for a couple of hours, we're going to have to do a bit of work. But it wasn't from a place of like attracting that. It was just this energy, this oppressive kind of feeling when you enter the space. And I'm like, right, let's lighten this up a little bit. So I don't go around seeking them, but obviously I still come into contact with stuff because I have the awareness of it. But I don't think anything can hurt me, can impact me. And you know, I don't get woken in the night more. I don't like all the things that used to be part of my everyday life don't tend to happen anymore, and that's awesome. But it's because I've done the work and I've cleared a lot of my internal stuff. And I always say you can't take a client there unless you've been there yourself. So, hey, I'm here and available if you need anything cleared. Because I've been there, as I said, and got the t-shirt in so many ways, in so many things. So the key thing is that we have to know that if you are someone that's struggling with this kind of thing, there is help out there. You can get past it. This doesn't have to be your kind of one of your labels in life. Having got past it myself, it is quite interesting. So don't feel stuck. You're not alone. There's loads of people dealing with stuff, but seek out some help and do some work. Even if it's not with me, be careful who you pick to work with, because what you can do sometimes is go to a practitioner who's really involved in that energy in the world, and that becomes their identity. And then they may actually give you more problems, so keep going back to them. I don't know anyone like this, but I perceive they're in the world. So be careful. Ask your body what would be a contribution and who would be a contribution, and then book with them. There are loads of great practitioners and therapists out there who have experience and can deal with these things from a neutral place, and that's what you need. So there is hope out there. You can deal with things. If you find yourself in a relationship or like hanging out, I don't mean just mean romantic relationship, any kind of relationship with someone who is very into this stuff, um, it is going to be in your world. Now, quite often when I'm with a client, they have a model of the world. I honor their model of the world and everything in it while I'm doing the session. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, let's just close that door and put that box over there. I don't want that in my awareness. So boundaries, boundaries, boundaries are key as well. So if you are finding yourself around someone who you think is probably causing some issues, maybe suggest they get some help. Don't have to tell them why, but maybe not hang out with them. That wouldn't be a practical thing to do. As I said to this client, if I have this fear of dogs, I am not going to go and put myself in a room full of dogs. That's not a practical thing to do when I'm running that record of fear with dogs, because they're all going to come and attack me, potentially. Uh, Obviously, there are lovely dogs. You have to be practical. If you're someone who is wired to pick stuff up, if you've got some sticky stuff going on and you think you need protection, be careful who you spend time with. You've got to be practical and keep yourself safe until you've cleared all the stickiness, all those belief systems, and everything that means you need protection. It may be a wise choice to not hang out with certain people or in certain situations. I've been to many fairs and events over the years, and I've walked in and gone, okay, right, barriers up. Even though I don't need protection in certain environments, it's going to be my friend. So it's practical. It's great to have tools to help you when you need them, but it's going to be based on your belief systems, but also the collective consciousness. So if I walk into an event where there's loads of woo-woo people and spiritual stuff going on and things, there is probably going to be more entities. And it may be practical for me. Okay, today I'm gonna sort something out here. Now, I have come into contact with things when I wasn't able to sort them, but I was able to kind of protect others from them. But now I can deal with practically anything. And sometimes I've walked into a venue and I'm like, am I the only one seeing that? Like, you're just like, am I making this up? And this one event happened. I was at a little holistic event in this town hall, and I walked in and went, what on earth is that? I could see this thing, and I was like, I don't know how to deal with that, but I could kind of shield it from the event. And I wasn't actually at the event the next day, but I kind of kept a kind of soft focus on it throughout the kind of 24 hours of the event over 2 days. And a couple of weeks later, I was speaking to one of my colleagues and I told him where I was, and he was like, "Did you see it?" And I was like, "Oh, it is there then. I'm not making it up." It's just like, and I've heard since that it has been done. So I haven't been back for a bit, but I will go and check it out when next time I'm passing. But I've heard someone else has dealt with it. So at the time, I didn't have the skills to deal with it, but I could still be aware of it. And yeah, there are a lot of strange things out there. So sometimes when we come into the collective consciousness, or we come into an event where everyone believes in, or we're, spending time with someone who does, we kind of fall into their model of the world. And in that kind of situation, yeah, I might go, right, I'm going to put my barriers up and get some protection going here because of who I'm with. But, I don't believe I need anything. Day to day, I'm fine. But there are still certain circumstances where I'd be like, okay, what is going on here? Who's bringing this up? Because we're not a separate thing. Everything is connected. So we have to be aware of our surroundings, who we're hanging out with, and, what the culture is where you are at. There are different countries in the world that have different belief systems. There are countries where like black magic and things are a little bit more accepted and normal. And in those places, yeah, you're going to be having to honor their model of the world and step into their space. So, you might want to do stuff. So, so be careful. Nothing can hurt you unless you believe it can. But other people can influence. So it's not a really clear cut thing. If you want some help, give me a shout. Or find someone that can help you, because if you've got stuff going on, it can be a nightmare. It can be really hard to deal with that. It's draining, it's tiring, and sometimes if you're feeling drained and tired and you can't quite work out why, and it's not someone else's, it might be kind of entities and weird stuff happening. So get yourself checked out. Anyway, any questions, comments? I'd love to talk in the chat, and I will catch up with you next week. Take care. Bye.